Hello, if you're interested in astrology and what the current planet positions mean, this video is for you. I'm Ev Zervoudakis, founder of Holistic Healing Astrology, been doing this kind of work for 50 plus years, and I'm here to share with you my knowledge, my expertise, and how you can learn astrology yourself. So, the first thing I want to do is start with this chart that I included in my newsletter. So, if you're not receiving my once a month newsletter, go ahead and hop on our website, holistichealingastrology.com, and subscribe to that. The link is down here. I'll show you. I have a lot of links for you. So subscribe to our newsletter, but all that is on our website. Okay, so thank you for joining me. Let's look and see what is happening right now. Well, first of all, you have to understand that astrology is the study of the stars. But what do the stars tell you? Why are we looking at the stars? Why have astrologers, since the beginning of time, been looking at the stars, visibly or through the telescope? And what is the meaning? How do we get the meanings? Well, the meanings have been proven over time for the last 5,000 plus years in history. And that's why all the prominent leaders and powers that be have been using astrology, like presidents, emperors, and even farmers. Astrology helps us navigate the cycles of the cosmos. So, first recommendation is to take out your astrology chart. So, what does the astrology chart look like? It would look like this. I've been studying not Vladimir, um, yeah, Zelensky, his chart, which is very interesting. And so this is what it looks like. A chart will have all your signs in degrees and minutes on the outer rim. It will have all the planets and points on the inside with degrees in signs. And then it shows you the houses, 1 through 12, that goes counterclockwise. And then all these aspects. What are aspects? It's really sacred geometry, but they are relationships between points or planets to other points and planets. A point could be right here, that is your cardinal point in the chart, which is very prominent and important. That's why it's a thick line. It's a cusp. And then your like north and south node, your Pluto, etc. So that's why it's very important to know not only your big three, but your whole chart. Know your sun sign, your Venus sign, your Mars sign, especially now, because we're going into Aries season, your moon sign, and all that. So why do you want to know your whole chart? Because watch what happens when, and I'm going to move this here. Watch what happens when we compare President Zelensky's chart to present day positions, because that's what we're going to talk about right now. What's going on in the sky? So this outer wheel is what's happening right now in the sky. So as an astrologer, we look and see, oh, he could be delusional right now. There it is. His descendant and Neptune. So that's what you do. And this is what is concerning to me. Black Moon Lilith in Libra is right on his fifth house. Okay. And that's a critical point, right? So that's what you have to do. You look at that. And anything that's on the line here is very critical. All right. So, and this is what the sky looks like right now. And thanks to software, astrological software, I use Ephemeris. Solar Fire is really good as well for storing a bunch of data. But for this, I'm going to use the ephemeris. And right now, March 3rd, all the planets are in a pattern from Pluto all the way to Mars. They are all lined up in one hemisphere. That's called a bowl in astrology. And a hemisphere is half a circle. So we deal with a lot of geometrical terminology. We deal with degrees, and there's a lot of math involved because what we're doing is comparing and contrasting what is going on. So when we look at these aspects, these geometrical relationships between, let's say, Pluto and Mars, this is an interesting time. There's a lot of obsession with transformation and action. Now, does Mars mean action, or does it mean aggression, or does it mean forcefulness, or does it mean let's do it? It means all of those things. So when we look at astrology, we look at how this configuration right here, right now, March 3rd, affects you personally, where you compare it to your natal chart, as we did with President Zelensky's chart a moment ago, or how this affects the world, which is collectively. And that's mundane astrology. But all these energies and how they talk to one another determines a guideline, what to expect. But how you react to these expectations is 100% up to you, and it's free will. Okay? That's a big misconception out there with these people that are just learning astrology, and even some old timers. They really believe that when Pluto is in Aquarius, quinticelli Mars in Cancer, it means one thing. Oh, we're going to obsess over power, let's say. Or the world is going to change. And IA is going to, AI is going to take over the world. And that kind of extreme statements of possibilities. So a chart shows opportunities and possibilities. Does it mean that whatever I predict is going to happen? No, because you have your free will, and how you react to whatever goes on in the sky is what really makes it happen. So learn what the energies are of the planets and then engineer them to work for you. So let's go down the list of what's going on. And I'm very mindful of your time, but these things that go on throughout the month and into May are very potent energies right now. And when it's potent, you want to see where this huge potent energy is in your natal chart. If it's making contact with any of your natal planets, cusps, points, abstract points, and if so, pay attention to those areas of life, your houses, and all the aspects, the geometric relationships between those houses and planets in your chart. And then start putting the intention of how you're going to use these energies. It's not the other way around where the chart dictates what's going to happen to you. That's old-fashioned. I don't believe in that. I feel you have a say in how you use those energies. It's not a doom and gloom chart. But the world is changing. But how are you going to adapt to the world? And how does it impact your natal chart? That's what this is all about. Okay? If you have any questions on what I say, type it in the comments and I will get back to you. And I'm always putting out videos for you to learn and understand astrology. There's too much hype out there from neophyte astrologers, beginner astrologers, heavily marketed astrologers that really don't know astrology that well, um, because they're misinformed. And then what they're doing is sharing the misinformation with people on social media, and then it's not necessarily true. Just like everybody's talking about the big lineup in the sky. Yes, it hasn't lined up like that in the sky visually, astronomically, uh, in the last 15 years. But they line up all the time in the sky, in a row every year, especially the personal planets. But the outer planets is what's happening right now. And never in, I think they've been studying this, they look back, they went back to 500 something BCE, and that's when we had these outer planet configurations, which was major changes in mathematics. It was during actually the golden era, the Hellenic golden era, if you know anything about it. So, astrologers, great astrologers, always study history because as these planets cycle around and make this geometric formation, sacred geometry in the sky, you have to go back in time and see when did this happen the last time. Well, stuff that's going on now has never happened. And even with the discovery of the telescope, before the discovery of the telescope, we only saw up to Saturn. And we didn't even know that Jupiter and Saturn and all these moons occurred until the telescope. However, the planets still existed. So that was working. You're going to say, well, how can you predict all this stuff? Well, the thing was that they were working on a subconscious level. But now that we know that they're out there, it's not a subconscious level. So getting back to what's happening this month and moving forward. So today, March 3rd, we have 0 degrees Aries, and that is called the Aries point activation. And just think of it as a big spotlight shining on you. And any Aries point is 0 degrees Aries. So find that in your astrological chart, and we could look here, and that would be right here, this spot here, 0 Aries. And this guy, and so right now we're in 0 Aries. Mercury is 0 Aries, okay? Right here. So that's an Aries point. So there's a big focus on communication because Mercury is also going retrograde. So it's a moment of high visibility and major shifts in communication. What's the shift? We're going inward now. So now, we're going to get a lot of confusing information because we put the whole thing together. So stay calm. Don't listen to everything you hear and half believe of what you see because they could have cut out clips. Unless you're watching it live, you don't know because this information is highly manipulated right now. We have Pluto in Aquarius, which is all major transformational changes. And then we have Neptune in Pisces, which makes things a little confusing, but Neptune dissolves. So I'm getting ahead of myself. So just be mindful of the Mercury retrograde. Now let me check my notes and make sure that I'm not missing anything. So the big picture too is that there is five changes in Aries this month. So Aries is all about assertion. It's about taking action. It's about moving forward. It's a cardinal sign and it's a fire sign. So it's explosive. It's exciting. And it's like, let's just do it. It could be blunt. It could be, aggressive. So that's Aries. Are all Aries aggressive, blunt, and rude? No. Because if we look at a chart, there's all this other stuff going on. So, right now, if you were born right now, you're in 13 degrees Pisces. That's where you shine. But you're pretty much a strong Pisces because you have a lot of action in Pisces here. But you have the love of communication, but forceful communication. No nonsense communication. They don't hold back. No sugarcoating over here. Could be a little delusional. It could be spiritual. You see? Could be, could be, could be. How do I know what it is? You talk to your client. You ask them, how do you react to these energies? They'll tell you if you're a good listener. So let's go back to this right here. And also, happy birthday, Aries. So if you're an Aries, you're going to have a birthday. And for sure, your sun, because the sun in Aries, that's your birthday, you're going to be affected by all these changes here and all these ingresses, all these planets. Okay? So people have been asking me, well, what does that mean? You have to do a forecast. You have to call up your neighborhood astrologer or your trusted astrologer and set up a time to do a forecast. That should take an hour. Usually they will not do a forecast for you if you haven't had a natal chart done with them, and that usually takes an hour and a half. Yes, it costs money, but you're paying for their expertise. By the time you figure it out as a beginner or even intermediate student, you're well into next year. You're going to miss it. That's why you call a professional. You don't do your own gallbladder surgery, do you? I hope not. Or, maybe you know how to do your own oil change, but most of us go to the specialists. So, getting back to this whole lineup of activity this month, it is intense. So, what does that mean for you? The first thing we talked about is this Aries point. And now the second thing, March 14th, we're going to have a full moon in 23 degrees Virgo. So you go into your natal chart, right? And you look at and try to find where is 23 degrees Virgo. So you go around the edge here and you find Virgo. Where's Virgo? Here it is, Virgo. And this is 10, 23 degrees Virgo, right here. And you look and see what's going on in your chart, 23 degrees Virgo. Is there anything at 23 degrees Virgo? If you're more advanced, you look for oppositions, which would be complete opposite of 23 degrees Virgo, which would be 23 degrees Pisces. Or is it square, of 23 degrees Virgo? And that would be 23 degrees in a mutable sign, like Gemini or Sagittarius, right? And it goes on and on. So I hope this makes sense. Now, it's also a lunar eclipse. A lunar eclipse. What does eclipse mean? It's a time of culmination, revealing details and bringing clarity. It also is a time to release its intense energy because the moon has to do with our feelings and our moods. But the eclipse is for the next 6 months and onward. It's a major shift. So by definition, an eclipse, and we'll go into the ephemeris, and we're going to move the chart to that day, which will be the 14th, and you'll see the full moon, which is the moon opposite the sun, conjunct the north and south nodes. You see? But always remember that the sun is sextile Pluto. And if you don't know what that means, that's a whole nother video. And it's also the sun is trine Mars. So we have a lot of energies going on. You can't ignore the fact that these planets here are talking not only to the north and south node and Pluto, but Uranus and Jupiter and Mars. So pretty much everything is working together. You see? So let's go back to our list. Now, March 20th, okay, we have the spring equinox, and that's when the sun enters Aries. So it's a zodiacal new year, fresh energy. It's a new start. It's a new year. It's a time to celebrate. All right. So that's when you look at your natal chart and you see on the 20th, let's move that forward to the 20th of March, and Aries, Sun Aries, and it ingresses into Aries New Year. But don't forget, we still have these outer planets that, like Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto and Neptune are going to be sextile to one another for a long time. And there's opportunities in dissolving this corporate greed and structure that's been dictating to us in the last 2,000 years. It's a major time right now. And where's the power going? To the collective whole, to people, us. And what's helping that happen is Jupiter and Gemini. Massive communication about ethics, values, morals, the big picture. So when you watch any news or get information, use your instinct, your gut to resonate with it. If it creates fear, just toss it to the side. If it creates inspiration and something positive, then go with that. Use your instinct. Use your gut. Don't use your intelligence so much, because we're still in the time of confusion. It's a critical degree in Neptune and Pisces. And Pisces is all about confusion, but it's also imagination. It's also dissolving. It's also the invisible world. There are invisible forces right now working with all this exposure. See how complicated astrology is? So it's very important to understand that. So, and why do we look at the outer planets first? Because the outer planets move the slowest. Pluto is going to be in this 3 degrees of Aquarius probably for the next year. And it just entered Aquarius March 23rd, 2023. And it goes back and forth. That's called a retrograde. And Neptune also moves very slowly. It's 11:30. And also Aquarius. I'm sorry, Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, moves slowly. So they stay in the certain zip code or real estate of a chart. 24 degrees Taurus, 29 degrees Pisces, 3 degrees Aquarius, it will stay there. So if you have anything in your chart with those degrees, it's going to have a long impact. It's going to stay there a long time. And with a retrograde, it goes back and forth, which means that it's not just going to contact that area once. It usually does 3 times, and Pluto could do it up to 5 times. 5 times it will go over that real estate on your natal chart. So if you do have these degrees and you're a little confused, reach out. I mean, I'd be more than happy to look at your chart with you. It's very affordable and it's a very good value. Trust me, you're going to have clarity and certainty beyond anything you've ever experienced when you reach out to a really good astrologer. And I'm one of them. So, but I paid my dues. I've done this a long time. So, stay grounded. That's that's another suggestion. Stay grounded. So, we also have Venus retrograde. Now, Venus retrograde, Venus has to do with love, beauty, finances, values, food, okay? All the things we love, luxuries. And on the 26th, it's going to go back into that Aries point of activation, Venus, right? But it's retrograde right now. So since March 1st, Aries has been retrograde. So it's a time that the whole world is being introspective about their money, about their possessions, about their finances, about their food. Look around. All this exposure about what they're doing to our food. Our values about beauty, about luxury items, right? About money, cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is this Pluto in Aquarius. So you have to incorporate, look at the big picture of not just Venus is retrograde, but Pluto is in Aquarius. Uranus is in Taurus. They're all in a big theater and they're all doing their thing, but they're all playing a part in this once in our lifetime production. And if you look forward to the next 500 years, this kind of astrological planetary activity doesn't line up like this at all. The outer planets, because the Pluto cycles around once in 250 years. Neptune 100 and something years. Uranus another 100 and something years. So the way they line up and are talking to one another is not chance. It's all part of the divine orchestration of humanity and the cosmos. It's deep, you guys. Astrology is deep. It's serious. But what you do with the information is the most critical part. It's not that the planets are going to dictate what you do with it. They're out there. The influences are out there. But what you do with it is determined by your own soul, by your own relationship with the Creator, which is part of your soul, you see? So I forecast and I predict that coming soon, telepathy, excuse me, will be a thing of everyday life. People reading each other's minds will be an everyday thing. And everyone is going to tap into their own psychic and intuitive abilities. It's happening right now. You won't rely so much on using other psychics, which will be another video. Beware of the psychics out there because they could be manipulative and not for your highest good. It's all about you taking control and being in charge of your own life because there's the power of suggestion. And even with astrology, if I suggest, in a forecast, which I don't do, that this will happen to you, that's not astrology. I just tell you that it's impacting your natal sun. What are you going to do about it? How do you feel about it? What are you feeling right now? That's how it works. So we also have Mercury retrograde, which starts March 15th. And you always could relay back to March 15th and see that Mercury goes retrograde. It's a little symbol of RX. But what's unique with this Mercury retrograde season, it's holding hands with Venus. So there's going to be a lot of contemplation and reflective energy about ourself, our possessions, how we think about our food, right? What do you think about that? How do you feel about that? Do you want me to do other videos along these topics? Please put them in the comments below. If you like what you hear, subscribe, share the channel with other people so we could all raise consciousness. You know, the more people think about the same thing, if we think about world peace, we're going to get world peace. If we think about how we're going to love one another, we're going to have more love for each other, right? We don't want hatred because energy flows where attention goes. So if you're focused on all the negative out there, you're going to just continue that pattern and have a lot of negativity in your life, which you really don't want. But if you do want it, well, stay away from me. And then ring the little bell. There's a little bell on the bottom, and just hit that so you'll get a notification for the videos that are just put out. Because I could be very random on when I put out videos. I try to put out the monthly forecast by the 1st. And of course, we're all a little late because this is very intense, fast-moving energy. These outer planets are shifting from the heavy water earth signs and going into air and fire. And air and fire move fast. So put your seatbelts on because that's what's happening for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. All right. Very accelerated energy in technology, in everything. So keep your eyes out. We're going to have a lot of information to go through, especially during this time. And it's better to know it ahead of time than to look back and say, yeah, I could have made different choices, because the choices are totally up to you, but it's for your soul growth. Okay? So I thank you for your indulgence, but let us move forward. So Mercury has to do with communication, thoughts, and technology, energy exchange, any kind of exchange. And because it's in Aries, Aries could be blunt, direct, impulsive. So you could have some miscommunication because, someone just ran with this misinformation and then it just spreads like a wildfire. All right. And this energy is interacting with other planets in the chart, especially Pluto, which is very transformative. And what does that mean? It just means that they're going to have irreversible changes. We're looking at irreversible changes. Things will never go back the way they are, especially in the medical industry, in the pharmaceutical industry, in the financial industry, in the spiritual industry of organized religion. And there's more. Okay? Makes sense? But it's happening. And you know what's really exciting? That we're in the middle of it. We chose to incarnate and come into this world during this time. So you could look at it optimistically or pessimistically. It's all up to you. And there's optimism and pessimism in every single chart. And let me show you why. Because every sign, so starting from Aries, Aries is an optimistic sign. Taurus, pessimistic. Gemini, optimistic. Cancer, pessimistic. Leo, optimistic. Virgo, pessimistic. Libra, optimistic. And Scorpio, pessimistic. Sagittarius, optimistic. Capricorn, pessimistic. Aquarius, optimistic. Pisces, pessimistic. So you see, half your chart is pessimistic, half your chart is optimistic. But if you have planets all lined up in a pessimistic sign, you could lean on the pessimistic side. But it's up to you to recognize it and use your astrology tool, because it's just a tool that you want to work out. You want to build your soul. So you want to work it out. But see, look, you got Venus, Mercury, and Chiron in a optimistic sign. See? So if you focus on the pessimism, that's what you're going to get. If you focus on the optimism, that's what you're going to get. And you might have to work through all these energies if this was your natal chart. Okay? So Pluto, Aquarius, big picture, that's an optimistic sign. So I'm going to look at it like, this is good. Optimism. Neptune, Pisces, it could be a little pessimistic, but we're going to grow from it. So, and everything cycles around. So how do I know it cycles around? Well, let's just look at the ephemeris. And back in the day, and we still use ephemerises, which is a book of these kinds of tabulations and charts, if you could see this. And so it shows you the date, March 25th, and it shows you the position of the sun, the moon, the north node. South node is always exactly opposite the north node. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Chiron, Black Moon, Lilith. And if you look very carefully, you see these little RXs. It tells you exactly what day Mercury is going to be retrograde. Shows you right here. Venus is retrograde, Now, this is Greenwich Standard Time. So we look at Eastern Time for the exact dates. And then down here, it tells you what aspects, what relationships that are exact are going on at the particular time. And then here we have planet ingress, which means which planets are going into a new sign. So we got 3, really 5, are going into Aries. Okay? Because the slower moving planets like Neptune, that will be at the end of the month. You see? Right here. And then Saturn is coming. And then it shows you the equinox and it shows you the eclipses. So remember, eclipses occur during the full and new moons. All right. And you could find the new moons right here. New moon is dark, filled in, and that would be February 28th and March 29th. 9 degrees Aries. And we're going to go over the 9 degrees Aries. So if you have 9 degrees Aries in your chart, you better hang around because it's truly affecting your chart right now. And you want to be prepared. And also 0 degrees Aries. So check your natal chart for 0 degrees and 9 degrees Aries, and because they're highly activated right now. So I jumped ahead. But there is a lot going on with 9 degrees Aries. So just be patient. And because we got 2 retrogrades, so go inward first before you make these judgment calls and move too fast. Okay? So we also have Neptune moving into Aries. Neptune is that planet that dissolves spirituality, being alone, mystical, and it has to do with the invisible world, your divine powers, your guides, the other side, whatever you want to call it. And it's also music. We can't forget that Neptune rules music and theater, film. So it's funny how I think main form of information and education, everything is going to be through film and less reading. You could tell that paper, books, and all that are newspapers, magazines, they're fallen to the wayside. Although I love paper. My moon is in Taurus. It's an earth sign. Paper is earth. Okay. It's made from wood, from trees. So, um, so practice patience, especially with these retrogrades in force, and embrace this new energy of Aries because it's the new cycle, the new year, spring. That's when the seeds are sprouting. And it takes tremendous force for a seedling to push all that dirt out of the way. It's a tiny little seed. And there's energy. There's energy compacted in that seed, which is dormant. It's dormant. It's holding all that energy. It's sort of like a miracle. And all of a sudden, it just through nature and in the earth, the seed opens up and this little green piece of life sprouts out. Then the sun activates it, and there's a lot of studies about the sun's energy. The sun in astrology has to do with vitality, life. There's so much wisdom in astrology. So let's go back and see what's next here. Um, so if you want to learn astrology from me too, hop onto the website and if I could cue that up for you. So you could, let's see if I could share that website. And so you go into Holistic Healing Astrology and click on class, and it will bring you to, so you would be in holistichealingastrology.com. You click on the class tab, and then that brings you to sign up here, which brings you to the link, sign up here, and it takes you into my calendar. And it's Zoom, it's recorded, it's live. So you could always go back to the live recording. And it's on the 16th for an hour and a half. $28. Yeah, $28. Tell all your friends. Don't miss this because I only do the planet breakdown, personal, social, and generational planets once a year. Okay, I'll be doing a transit chart class too, so you could understand transits. A lot of confusion. So here's a calendar date, March 16th, Eastern Time at 3 p.m. Reserve your spot, and you just click on that on the 16th, and then you pay. And then you'll automatically get a link, and you'll get notifications like the class is coming up. So yeah, I embrace technology. I love technology. So let's go back to this page. Hopefully, let's make sure I'm sharing the right page right here. And see, so now we go back to our little list of all these events. And there's a major shift of let's do it. Just think of Nike, let's do it. But with the two retrogrades, just rethink it, reflect on it, and then do it. Okay? Usually retrogrades are a time of let's wait, let's pause, let's wait and see. Okay? Mm, especially you don't want to do the rash decision and then regret it. Because then you'll just have to redo it. That's why Mercury retrograde gets a bad rap because, on the 15th it's going to go retrograde. It gets a bad rap because um, it's it's a time of information that has to be redone. So if you buy something and you sign a contract, you might have to sign the contract again. You might have to redo a newsletter. You might have to redo an email. So anything that has to do with communication, it might have to be done twice. But if you do it twice before you take action, if you review and edit 2 or 3 or 4 times and you're certain, or have other people double check your work, then you're pretty safe. Okay? So you can't stop life because Mercury is retrograde or Venus is retrograde. So Mercury, if your cat died during the Mercury retrograde, has nothing to do with it. People call me up and they go, my cat died during a Mercury retrograde. It's the worst time. I can't stand Mercury retrogrades. No, has nothing to do with it. A little knowledge is a very dangerous thing, especially in astrology. The other day, someone said, hey, I hear you're an astrologer. Yeah. What can I do for you? Well, what's my sign? I said, well, if you give me your birth time, birth date, birth place, then I could put it in my ephemeris and I could put out a chart for you. And that will tell you everything. Oh, no, just can you guess my sign? And I said, is that what you think an astrologer does? Yeah. And I laughed. That's not what you do. Astrologer looks at a natal chart, like I showed you before, and starts to interpret through a conversation. We have to find out, what do these planets mean for you? If you have Saturn in the first house, it could mean that you're a very responsible, dependable, reliable person that has great time management skills, etc., etc. Or can mean that you're negative, pessimistic, drenched in the reality of hard work and pessimism. So, or you could have a little bit of both. Or you could be transitioning from a negative thinker to a positive thinker once you identify the Saturn. And don't forget, remember I told you about that geometric sacred geometry that exists with each planet, each point. So if there's a bunch of positive reinforcement to the Saturn with positive aspects, then it'll be used in a positive way for you. Or if it's negative, then you'll have to work a little harder with these squares and oppositions to make it what you want it to be. But it's never, somebody posted on one of my YouTube videos that, yeah, when you have a Saturn something conjunction square, Saturn Mars square in your chart, that you're going to live a shorter life. What kind of nonsense is that? Because you have to go back to, what is your natal chart? Your natal chart is what you created on the other side in the invisible world with the creator. You co-created this chart because you came here to learn the physicality lessons and to elevate your soul, period. And then you reincarnate again. And if you don't believe in reincarnation, that's fine. But reincarnation is in astrology. It's the South Node. It's represented in the South Node. Yeah, and there's some astrologers that just focus on your past lives, all your past lives. So, I hope you're enjoying this information. So, this Aries season, I want you to pay attention to intuitive hits, these inspirations about people and situations. You know, listen with and see with your third eye. Activate the third eye. And you're feeling pulled in new paths and directions because it's your spiritual journey. And pay attention to the body reactions, goosebumps, heat, tingling sensation, which is the invisible world. Remember, Neptune is shifting from in Pisces out of that critical degree into another critical degree of zero Aries, which is a brand new cycle, a brand new beginning. Lots of optimism, no more pessimism, okay, with the Neptune spiritual. Even let's pay attention too to the music and dance and film and imagination, how it's going to take a lighter quality, a more positive, optimistic look. Pay attention and let me know. Yeah, you could even email me and text me and give me your insights because it's a community here. So, uh, move first, analyze later is Aries teaches you action over hesitation. But remember what I said about the retrogrades, the Mercury and the Venus retrograde. All right. So think or review, rewind, review, so you don't have to redo. And work with that fire energy because you could use a red candle, visualize your third eye, igniting the flame, and ask, what do I need to see clearly? Use your crystal quartz, use your crystals to ground you because it's a time when we really need a lot of grounding because of all the energy going into air and fire. Not grounding at all, is it? So, and let the answers arise like smoke and air and fire naturally. So, what does that mean? Whatever, whatever first thought you get, pay attention to it because your ego, your mind will talk you out of it sometimes. Journaling is really good. It helps ground you when you write with pencil and paper. Writing with pencil and paper will ground you and you'll get clarity. And I'm going to promote my journal. You could go into the website, look at this beautiful journal, and it's called Guided by God, and it gives you all the all the commands, the uh all the prompts on how to do it, and you fill in the date because if you're like me, you're not going to do it every day. But if you're a heavy I'm sorry, earth sign, you might be disciplined and methodical enough to do it every day. I love this book. I created this book because that's how I got a lot of my answers and clarity by speaking to God. It's a great journal. And I don't promote it enough. So, um, yeah, you got to help out your local astrologers because, you know, it's still a new vocation. It's 12 o'clock. Okay. So we need to strengthen too our solar plexus and getting back to the flames and the fire sign, Aries. Why candlelight? Because the spiritual world is drawn to not light bulbs, but candlelight. That's why, um, the churches and organized religion did use, in all kinds of spiritual rituals, used a flame because the invisible world, the spiritual world, are attracted to the flame, right? So make sure you use it. And and you could pull in your spiritual guides, your ancestors, but be mindful to always connect with the spirit of truth first, okay? Because there's this mischievous spirits and the dark spirits that you don't want to be around. So I do my little ritual, and you could check my channel and search for how to prepare for psychic readings and things like that. So you are engaged with the spirit of truth. Okay. So final thoughts. Aries is a season of not waiting, you know. So tune in, trust your intuition. True intuition is not only water, but it's fire. Okay. And acting on what you just know. When you have certainty and clarity, that's when you act. If you have any doubts, pause. Okay. Pause. And so just use your chart for what is going on in your chart and use your candles to get more information. Use your journal, and it's a perfect time to embrace this new era that we're in. It's a birth of a 2,500 year cycle. We've never seen this before. It goes way back. And we're not going to see it again unless we live to be 2,500 years. So, you know what a birth is like. If you never had a birth, well, then you don't know what it's like. But all this intense energy goes from a big space into a very narrow space, and then it's pushed through. And then freedom. But getting through that birth and that birth canal is tough. Okay. But everybody goes through it, right? And if you want to have a discovery call, people say, what's a discovery call? Well, it's like a mini reading, but what it is if you have a specific question and you don't know which one of my products to use, then just schedule it on my calendar. Okay, just go into the website. You'll see all these links. You want my newsletter? Subscribe to the newsletter. It's a really good deal. It's for free. I keep it for free right now. I don't want to charge for that. I put out weekly blogs, except for the end of the month when I do my newsletter. And then if you want your basic natal astrology consultation, it's an hour and a half. It's only $180. It's a great value. And we look at your whole chart. I'm not one of these astrologers that just look at, the important stuff. I'm very thorough. And I look at the whole chart, your pattern, what's really strong. We discuss it, and then I answer all your questions. And sometimes I'll give you a preview, especially if you have activity in current transits, like 0 degrees Aries or 9 degrees Aries in your chart. We're going to discuss that. Not because I want you to schedule for a forecast, but I throw it in there, like, just be mindful of it. So I kind of give you freebies. I always do. And then at the end of the reading, I pull out cards. I have several decks that I use. So we tap into the spiritual invisible world, so you get more answers. I have my books on the website. There you go. You click on that. TikTok, I'm pretty active on TikTok, not very active on Facebook or Instagram, but TikTok, I give little snippets, and my YouTube channel. Thank you again. 59 minutes and 35 seconds. We made it in 1 hour. I love you all. And until next time, see you later. Be safe.